In this episode of the World Movie League, we have two Group B Round 1 matches. Match 1 sees the Suicide Squad taking on Wonder Woman, and Match 2 sees the Joker taking on Black Widow. Hey, it's me, Commissioner AP, and welcome back to another episode of the World Movie League, the show where we are pitting movies against one another to find the ultimate movie. And on today's episode of the World Movie League, we've got two awesome matches in Group B. We're now on to Group B, and it's still round 1 matches of the World Movie League. So we have the Suicide Squad, the second Suicide Squad movie, taking on Wonder Woman, which will be an epic contest. Two great movies. Then in match 2, we have Joker taking on Black Widow, and I'm really excited for these matches. As always, I'll be judging these matches as the commissioner of the World Movie League with the 3 sets of rules. So the first contest will be laid upon. It will be battled in a best characters match. So the best characters of the movie in match 1 and match 2. Then we have best movie high scoring moments. And if it does go to the third round, we will always get to it, but desert island movies, the movie you would like to live on a desert island with and watch for eternity, basically. And that's how the matches are going to be judged. I'm going to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner of the World Movie League in this episode, and I can't wait to get started with this competition in these matches on today's edition. So let's get to the matches. You better tell your brothers and sisters about the World Movie League. If you don't, Buck Scoldone is gonna come round and he's gonna buck you up. So let's take a look at match number 1. Released in 2021, The Suicide Squad tells the story of Task Force X, a group of convicts sent by the government on missions in exchange for shorter jail sentences. The movie's cast features Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, John Cena as Peacemaker, and Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag. Now let's take a look at the Suicide Squad's opponents. Released in 2017, Wonder Woman tells the origin story of Diana Prince, the Amazon warrior and daughter of Zeus. The film stars Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, and Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, with a supporting cast of Robin Wright, Danny Houston, and David Fellis. So we start off the Group B matches with the Suicide Squad versus Wonder Woman. First off, both really good movies in my opinion. Really enjoyed both of these movies. Really enjoyed the rewatch of them. The Suicide Squad is the sequel to the original Suicide Squad. I thought the original one was a pretty decent movie. I do think the sequel does better in certain points, and I think the characters are slightly improved, and like the new characters they brought in are much stronger than the first movie. Wonder Woman is a first dip into the DC universe, the first female DC mega character. Really, I know they had like the Supergirl movie back in the 80s or the 90s, but I mean, in this current tenure of DC movies with like the Batman, the Superman movies, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, the Patty Jenkins movie is the first big female superhero movie from DC in the modern era, and I think it is a stunning movie, absolutely stunning movie. But only one can go through to the next round of the World Movie League, so we do have to judge it today in this episode. So it will be the Suicide Squad taking on Wonder Woman, and we start this off with a battle of best character. So I'm going to pick out a character from each movie and decide upon which character I think is the best out of those two movies to give the first point to that movie in the scoring today. Look, I will say both of these movies have some really great characters. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the Suicide Squad, and this was a hard one to do because, the Suicide Squad is this kind of like big group movie. There's a lot of different characters in there. It's a group of these like superhero vigilante figures. And to pick a favourite character was really hard. But I had to float to this guy, and it is John Cena, the wrestler, former wrestler, current wrestler, still kind of like part-time wrestler, WWE superstar John Cena playing Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad. Chris Smith, his alter ego, real name is in the movie. But basically, why do I like this character? I think, look, I enjoyed the character Peacemaker in this movie. I love his, he's a villainous character. The Suicide Squad, they're all basically villains recruited to do the government's work, to take on these big, like, government, missions that no one should know about. And this Task Force X, these are hired criminals, and if they do the mission successfully, they get years taken off the sentences. So he's effectively a villainous character, but throughout this movie, he is kind of made into like a likable character. But by the end of the movie, you kind of just don't like him again. I feel like you despise this character again for his actions. But also, I don't want to kind of judge it upon this, but out of further context and further reading, really, I've recently watched the Peacemaker TV show, which is a sequel series to this movie, which is brilliant. And John Cena is really just, like, for me, I think he's an absolute star in the making now. I think he's going to be just as big as The Rock eventually. I think he's just going to be that big. He's an awesome actor. I like him as an action guy in action movies. I want to see more of John Cena. But in the Suicide Squad movie, judging the Peacemaker upon this, I kind of like him more now after watching the Peacemaker TV show, and I'm watching it back, and I'm liking him. I liked him beforehand, but in the moments where you do really like gather that liking for the character, I think he's got really good comedy chops. He's, the action scenes. He's this guy who he kills because he wants to create peace. So basically, he'll do anything to get to peace in the world. That's why he's called Peacemaker, basically. So if it means like killing a load of like children on a school bus, as long as that like makes peace in the world, he'll do it. He'll do whatever it takes to get peace. And look, his actions are wrong, I would say, at points in this movie. I think he makes some really bad moves, but I love his is the way he reacts to his interactions with like Idris Elba's Bloodsport and Rick Flag. I love the interactions. I think there's some great comedy moments in the group when he's in his white front, so in the camp. He just wakes up in the middle of the night when King Shark is trying to eat Ratcatcher, and it's just like Cena just doesn't care. He's just he's happy to just make a show of himself and make a fool of himself, and the character is just really fun. I think he's a really fun character. And in the scenes you really like, the action scenes with him are awesome. I love his outfit. I just love the overall aesthetic of the character, his humour, his reactions with people. And I think he's just a character you can really, get behind and cheer for in this movie. On the other side of the coin, we got the Wonder Woman movie. The first Wonder Woman film. Look, it would be easy for me to just say Wonder Woman because she is the main, star of this movie. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Diana Prince. But I want to say that I think Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, the love interest, the World War I soldier in this movie, I think he is one of my favourite characters in this movie. For me, the main reason why I like him so much is, I love his interactions with Diana and sort of introducing her to the world, to the real world outside of the island she's lived on all her life growing up. But when it's the end of the movie, and this is at the end of the movie, basically he sacrifices himself to save everyone, and there's he boards a bomber's plane, and he realizes the only way he could save everyone, because there's all this gas bombs in the plane. The only way he can save everyone is to take it up to up as high as possible and then just blow it up. And he decides to do that. He decides to put his own life on the line. He knows what's going to happen, Steve Trevor. He knows he's going to die. And that sacrifice moment is really makes you just applaud the character, and you just think like, this guy is a true hero, real hero, Steve Trevor. And for me, the true hero of the movie, Steve Trevor, in all honesty, I think he's a great character. I love that sacrifice scene. I think it's just really a moment in movies. You only get these moments every so often where you really connect with a character and really connect to a moment. And I feel like watching this back, I didn't realize how much I sort of like latched to this particular moment with him sacrificing himself. So that is for me. I think Steve Trevor, just for that moment alone, and some other great moments within the movie, make him my best character in that film. But overall, we've got Peacemaker taking on Steve Trevor. Which one is the best character? I gotta go for Steve Trevor. So Wonder Woman gets the first point in this matchup. Steve Trevor over the Peacemaker. Even though I really enjoy the Peacemaker character, Steve Trevor, just for his sacrifice, really makes me applaud him and like him so much to, make him the best character out of these two movies. Now, let's move on to the best movie high-scoring moments. Now, what is the best movie high-scoring moments? What does this mean? It means picking out a particular scene, and it has to be a high-scoring scene, a scene that really is like a high-scoring moment scene in a film for you. And for me, the high-scoring moments here, I've got two great scenes, one great scene for each movie, and I'm going to discuss them right now. So we'll first start off with, the Suicide Squad again, and I love this scene. I absolutely love this scene. But basically, it's a scene in the movie where Rick Flag has been captured. So he's been captured, Rick Flag, by some freedom fighters. But the Suicide Squad, like you've got Idris Elba's Bloodsport, Peacemaker, a few of the other ones, and you've got King Shark and he's the Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher. They think he's like being held as a prisoner, and they get into this camp, and they just start taking out all these freedom fighters who are just on patrol in the camp, and they're tracking Rick Flag, and they're going in, and you got Bloodsport and Peacemaker who are sort of having a competition of killing people in this. Like they're throwing like these darts, they're just throwing knives, shooting people. And the way it's shot, it feels like a bit of a one-shot scene at some points in it. It's really well shot. I love it's in this jungle vibe. It's got like that sort of like Rambo Predator-like feel. And they kill basically all of these freedom fighters in the camp who are just standing around in the morning time, just chilling out. And then they get to Rick Flag and he's just supping tea with the leader. And the leader is like, "Why did no one in my camp alert me to your presence?" And they're just like, And then it's just such a funny moment. And Rick Flag's just like explaining to the leader afterwards, like, they're all idiots and they shouldn't have done that. And it's just I love that scene. I think it's an epic scene. It's just a scene in the movie. Look, I think of the Suicide Squad, it's definitely an action movie, but overall, I would say, the fundamentals of this, it's a lot of comedy in the Suicide Squad from James Gunn, the director. And for me, it delivers a great comedy moment with some great action in there, them just taking out this camp of freedom fighters. So I love that. That's my favourite scene for the Suicide Squad. And now we move to Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman has a really epic, it has a bunch of epic scenes, this film, but I think one that really stands out for me is the opening beach scene where the Germans have followed Steve Trevor's plane, basically, and they discover the island where the Amazons and Wonder Woman are living in this hidden island. They come through this like portal, they discover the island, and they're storming the beaches of this island. And then you see all the Amazons on the cliff top, like seeing the Germans, and they start fighting them. And Steve Trevor's like, "It's the Germans." And Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, she's like, "The Germans?" And obviously she's never heard of the Germans before. She's only just discovered a man for the first time. And you see this epic battle of the Germans storming the beaches, and then you see all the Amazon warriors on the, like, fighting, like, they've got like their the arrows, they're shooting arrows, they're on horseback on the beach, and we see like this epic, like 3 or 4 minute battle, and it comes to a conclusion where Diana's auntie, the trainer, the one who trained her up as a warrior, gets killed as she dives in front of a gunshot to save Diana. Antiope, I think Antiope, I'm probably pronouncing that really wrong, butchering that name, but it's an emotional scene, and where then, Diana's holding her in her arms, and it's just so emotional, but it's just an epic battle scene as well before that, to that conclusion there. So that for me is the best scene in Wonder Woman. I think it's a really, really good scene to watch. But as always, we can only have one winner. So which movie has the best movie high scoring moment? For me, as epic as the Wonder Woman battle scene is, I think it's epic with the music and everything. For me, the Suicide Squad though is a winner just for that scene. It cracks me up. It absolutely cracks me up every time watching that scene. I've watched it a couple of times now, and it's just a standout scene where they're going into the camp and killing all the freedom fighters and not really realizing that they're actually they're the good guys they're killing. I love that scene. So for me, the Suicide Squad takes a point here. So we are level going in to the final round of the match number 1 here in the World Movie League Group B matches. So we're on to the final task, the final mission, the final scoring of today's Group B match 1. And it is Desert Island Movies. Desert Island Movies we're on to now. And this is basically, picking a movie that you are going to be happy with watching. If you're landed on a desert island and you are there forever and you've got to watch the movie over and over again. So it's either Wonder Woman or the Suicide Squad. This is always hard because it's like, which ones do you want for a certain emotion, or which one would you be happy with watching over and over again? This is a tough task. I think I honestly would have said, originally, I would have said it would have been Wonder Woman. Because I think it is an epic movie, and there was certainly stuff in Suicide Squad I really enjoyed, but I think the stuff with Harley Quinn in the middle of the movie, sort of like where she's like meeting the leader and she has this like short relationship in this really short scene, but I think the Harley Quinn scenes in the Suicide Squad let the film down for me. So that's where I would have initially went for Wonder Woman. But I think after watching the Peacemaker TV show and then rewatching the Suicide Squad again, kind of feel like I've got a newfound love for this movie. But God, this is hard. I'm thinking now, do I go for the Suicide Squad or the Wonder Woman, this epic film? And I think about the villains, everything all in the mix. What do I say? I'm going to go with my Desert Island movie is The Suicide Squad. That's what I'm going with. The Suicide Squad. So that means it is a 2-1 win for the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad goes through to the next round of the competition. Now let's move on to the next match of this episode. Let's take a look at match number 2. Released in 2019, Joker tells the origin story of the clown Prince of Crime. The movie stars Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck and his alter ego, Joker, and Robert De Niro as Murray Franklin. The movie also features supporting cast members Zazie Beetz and Francis Conroy. Now let's take a look at the Joker's opponent. Released in 2021, Black Widow is a solo movie of Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. The film stars Scarlett Johansson in the main role as Natasha Romanoff, Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Rachel Weisz as Melina Vostokov, David Harbour as Red Guardian, and Ray Winston as the main villain Dreykov. So, match number 2, the Joker taking on Black Widow, where first of all, let's talk about the Joker briefly. I think this is, how do you describe it? It's like an origin movie of the Joker character. I never thought we would ever see a Joker movie, but we do see this. It's its own canon, so it's not like connected to any other Batman movies so far anyway. But it's kind of like, how would I describe it? It's an origin. It's a guy who's he's got a lot of like mental health issues, I would say. He's got some very deep issues going on, this character of the Joker, Arthur Fleck. And it's kind of like a Fight Club esque movie, I would say. Very much, it's got like a lot of Fight Club in there, for me personally, as a watcher of this film. It's a very, very dark, very gritty at times movie. I think it's definitely a movie that can play with a certain emotion in your head. And I think if you're watching this, I think if you're in a certain frame, I think it's a movie that can put you into, I think it's like a bit of a downer of a movie at sometimes. You're watching this and it's very, you're like, oh, wow, this is not like a superhero, flamboyant superhero movie. It's not that. This is a very dark, gritty movie. And I think just going into that, if you've never watched it before, just bear that in mind, this film. On the other side of the coin, we've got the Black Widow movie, the story of Natasha Romanoff, her origin story, finally in the MCU. Always a shame that we didn't get to see the Black Widow movie as the first female-led MCU movie, but finally we did get it in the end, which is great to see. But we see the origin story, her upbringing, through the Red Room, this room that like takes on young girls and trains them into be like these world-class assassins, and it's a really good story. And then we see her revisiting that Red Room to trying to take it down, trying to destroy this Red Room and to destroy her past, basically, and to move on with her future. And this is like kind of like polar opposite of the Joker, where like I said, it's got that sort of like big flamboyant superhero feel to this movie, which I really enjoy. But as I said, we're going to judge this on 3 rounds, and round number 1 here we see 3 competition rounds. We're going to do best characters first of all. So I'm going to start off with the Joker, and really the Joker for me is like the main established character throughout this movie. Joker, Arthur Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Look, I think he did a really good performance in this movie. I think, first of all, you've got 2 Jokers before this. We have Jared Leto's Joker in the Suicide Squad movie. Then we had, Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight movie. To this day, still love Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. This movie didn't really change that for me. I think it's a very different incarnation of the Joker. So you've got to really take it for what it is in this film. Like I said, this character has a lot of mental health issues. He has this like consistent laughing. He can't laugh. He just laughs uncontrollably out of nowhere, and it's it makes him physically sick laughing. He just starts laughing, and he's this guy who's this like part-time clown, and he does like part-time comedy, or he's trying to get into comedy, trying to be a comedian. He wants to he basically wants to be famous. He wants to get on this chat show with this guy who he adores, and the guy basically makes fun of him. And then you see the turn into this Joker, and you see events through this movie where he turns into a killer and the Joker is truly born. It's a hard role, I think, to play. I think for the performance and what he's given us in the performance of this guy who has mental health issues, and this guy who's really just like it feels like the world's against him, and then he just goes on an absolute spree of killing, basically. It's a really hard role to play, and I think to then incorporate that comic book character over all this as well, it must have been very hard juggling all them sort of things in for Joaquin Phoenix. But I think he did a really good performance, and look, it's like I said, it's not my favourite Joker, but I think it's definitely a fresh version of the Joker, and it's something new for us as audiences. On the other side of the coin, for best character, I'm going to go for Black Widow. Is going to be the Red Guardian character, played by David Harbour. So he's like the surrogate father of Natasha and Yelena, and basically he's the Russian version of Captain America years ago. And basically within this movie we see the origin of him, bringing up the girls and then leaving them, and then we see him later on in the story. He's in a prison years later, and they're breaking him out of the prison. But there's little things here, like scenes where he's arm wrestling guys in the prison, and they're saying like he's gloating and saying he beat Captain America in a fight, and he mentions a year because the guy's like, which year was this? And he says like 1989 or something like that, and the guy calls him on the year. He's like, that can't be true. Captain America was frozen at that point in time. And then he's like, are you calling me a liar? And then he's like slams the guy's arm down. And obviously he is joking. He's lying because Captain America was in ice, but he's a very comedy kicking character in this. I think he's got really good comedy chops, David Harbour. I know a lot of people would know him from doing like the Stranger Things TV show. I've only watched like the 1 season of that. He was in Hellboy as well. He played Hellboy in the recent Hellboy movie as well. But I think in this film as Red Guardian, I think he's great. I think he's a great comedy relief for the characters of like Yelena and Natasha, who are very stoic at times, and scenes within other scenes within this movie when he's putting on his old suit and he's obviously put on a few pounds over the years and he's trying to get into the suit as well. But I think overall throughout this movie, he's like this father figure character, and he is a strong character, but he always has that comedy to him. And I love the comedy moments, and I think it really wins through for me as a viewer. So, which one was the best character, the Joker or Red Guardian? I am going to go with Red Guardian. I'm sorry, but I think it's just one where the character connects with me more. I think I like the character more. It's more likable. I think just because, I feel like the Joker is juggling a lot and like he's doing a great performance, Joaquin Phoenix, but the character, I just don't connect to it. And I feel like maybe are you meant to like the character of the Joker, or are you meant to despise him by the end of this movie? I'm kind of like unsure of where I'm meant to feel, and I feel like I just think of this guy's just like, he's a crazy guy, and I can't get behind him. And Red Guardian, I can get behind. I think he's a likable guy, and I think, he realizes he's done bad things, but he wants to, do good now. And I really like that character, and I think David Harbour is great in that role, and I hope to see more of him in the MCU in the future. Now we move on to Best Movie High Scoring Moments. So, Best Movie High Scoring Moments for Joker and Black Widow. Let's go first of all to Black Widow this time. So for me, the Black Widow Best Movie High Scoring Moment is the prison break scene. So basically, Yelena and Natasha trying to break out Red Guardian from this prison. It's this like big this prison in this like snowy location in these mountains, a really secluded area. And they go in there in a helicopter, break him out, and it's just phenomenal. Just like mega action, and you see Natasha jumps down, and she has like this rope, and she's taking on all guards and stuff like that. Then you see Yelena getting shot at by these guys in this tower at the prison, and she's driving, or what we say, like driving the helicopter at the time. It's mid-air, and she just like holds it, like stalls the helicopter in mid-air, gets out this bazooka, and just takes out this watchtower, and it is phenomenal to watch. I love that scene. And then we see, this big avalanche come down, and you see everyone's like looking at this avalanche come down to hit the prison. It's going to destroy everyone, the helicopter, and it's like they have to get out ASAP, and it's just a rush to get out. Then the three of them get out, they survive it, and I just think it's an epic scene within this movie. Really well shot, great action set pieces. I love this scene. Now we go to the other side of the coin with the Joker movie. Now, I think the best movie high scoring moment in this film is the subway scene, where we really see the dawn of the Joker. Really, he is just been sacked. He's been fired from his job, Arthur Fleck, and he's on this train, and basically he's got his clown outfit on at the time, and as I said, he has this uncontrollable laughter, where it's a condition where he just starts laughing out of nowhere, and he can't stop it, and it really makes him sick of laughing. And you see these like three business guys on this train, and they're harassing this woman at first, and then they start laughing, and then he starts laughing as well, and they think that he's like kind of laughing at them, or laughing at like with them. And then they start like singing, "Here comes the clown," and they're like saying, so then they start getting aggressive with him. They start like saying, "Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?" And then they start like grabbing him, and then he starts kicking out, and then they start beating him down and just like kicking him in on the train. And Arthur has this gun, and he just starts shooting two of these guys, and he shoots two of them down. And then we see him chase off this last final guy, and the guy's been shot in the leg already. He's hobbling, and you see him get off the station platform. He's walking, and he's dragging himself like towards the exit. And then you just see Arthur, the Joker, is born, where he shoots this guy in cold blood. And that, for me, again, that is the dawn of this character in this movie. A big turning point, a big shift in this movie, where he really does truly become the Joker. Even before like the moments later on where you have that scene where he's doing the dance and stuff like this. This for me is the true Joker making scene. But which is the winning scene for me? I will say I've got to go with Black Widow again. As much as I enjoyed that scene from the Joker, That the action, I'm all about action scenes, and if it's a incredible action scene like in Black Widow, I've got to go with that. So Black Widow, the prison break scene is for me the best movie high scoring moment for me. That means that Black Widow does automatically go through to the next round, but just out of fun, I am going to do Desert Island movie. What would be my Desert Island movie choice for this, between these two movies? I would have to go with Black Widow. It was easy. It's a 3 out of 3. It takes all 3 points in this episode, this round. Black Widow, I think, is a phenomenal movie. I really enjoy it as an origin story as Natasha. And yeah, I just think it's a solid movie, and I can't wait to see what they do with the future. I mean, we've seen obviously Yelena in the Hawkeye TV show, and that was great to see. And I hope we see more of Scarlett Johansson in the role of the Black Widow eventually. I'd love to see it, and Red Guardian as well. I'd love to see him. I think there's a load of characters in this movie that will be fleshed out more in the future anyway. So it's good to see that. But yeah, Black Widow goes through to the next round. I'm just getting something in my ear saying that we've got a message from one of the World Movie League representatives.
Commissioner AP, I'm getting pumped up by this competition. I can feel the blood boiling through my veins. I cannot wait to see the next round. I'm so excited.
Big thanks to Buck Sculdone as usual. So there we have it. The first set of Group B matches are over. Obviously, we're going to have more Group B matches in the next episode, but we saw in this episode the Suicide Squad going through to the next round, and the Black Widow movie, Black Widow origin story, going through to the next round as well. Both great movies in my opinion, and look, if you've never watched either of those movies, check them out, because I highly recommend them both. It's going to be fun to see them going through to the next round now, and seeing obviously them eventually facing off as well, and you know, then one of those movies will take on other movies in the competition further down the line. So I'm really enjoying doing the World Movie League and seeing how it's developing and seeing which movies go through, and it's very exciting. So they are the ones that are going through to the next round of this competition. If you enjoyed this video today, please do give it a like and check out the rest of the movie related content on the channel, and let me know your thoughts on today's results. Did you think the best movies went through on today's episode, or do you feel like the wrong movies went through? What are your picks and what are your scorings on the World Movie League in this episode? Let me know all your choices, and remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.